erin-cofiell-barker, joined by Joe Sinagra, my co-host for the Trash Talking and Giving Back podcast, where every week we talk a little trash in a good way. Sometimes, I guess, it could get slanted negative, but we try to keep it positive with a little trash, educate me a little bit with what's going on. We also often talk about giving back, whether it's physically or just figuratively, like to our world, because we don't want, this is the number one thing I've learned on this podcast, is the landfill is eventually going to fill up, and we don't want that. Well, not that we don't want it to happen, but it's not going to be great when it does, because it's the only one we have.
Absolutely.
Usually you'd say a little bit more than a one-word answer.
Well, usually you prompt me a little bit, Erin. You know, we missed our opportunity last week. You know, we're always looking for guests, and we're always looking for people to give us ideas. You know, there was another podcast that had a guest that got a lot of publicity. So I was hoping, you know, we could maybe dovetail in like that. I mean, you know, you used to be in sports. That was a sports podcast. I like sports, and you're a big country music fan. So, you know, unfortunately, we weren't that lucky. There's no.
Yeah, Taylor, you know, I called her earlier and I was like, you know, Taylor, like, if you were my girl, like you say you are, you know, but I ended up just telling her, like, I'm too cool, Taylor. We don't need you. We don't need you on the Myers podcast.
Well, maybe if you didn't make fun of Rhode Island so much, we could have her.
I drove by her house when I was down in Rhode Island 4th of July week, actually, and they have like swag in the stores that's like T-Swift related. It was kind of cool.
Absolutely, be great.
It was kind of cool. How has the week been? Before we get to our guest, go ahead.
Guest is good, like you. Summertime's a good time to travel. I do love to travel, but it is nice to be home. You know, there's nothing like sleeping in your own bed. You know, even a good hotel bed is nice, but it's nice to get away, but it's really nice to get home. So I know, like you've been traveling as well, but it is nice to come back, and it's always nice here in Vermont to come back home.
I did the first weekend away without kids and without husband. So Alex was left home with the 2 little kids, and I was off at like a country music festival with 3 other moms, and it was nerve-wracking, but it was fun, and the kids all survived. When I got home, I went and got like $100 of gifts before I left that I wrapped up. So when they were sad and they missed mom, they just got lots of toys all weekend. But we all survived, and I had a great time.
Well, that's great. It's great. Good. I'm glad that you had a good time and that you're back.
I'm back. Yeah, no issues at the border. Before we politicize things with the border, let's welcome in our guest today. His name is Tim Mack. He is the president of Tankout, which is a company here in Vermont that helps you remove your oil tank when that needs to happen. There he is. Oh, here he comes.
Maybe.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Tim, how are you?
Hey. Doing good.
Tim's in the car because he's joining us from the job site. He's taking a quick break to join us from the job site. Tell us about what's going on at the job site you're on right now.
Well, actually, we took the day off of oil tanks. I have Liam and Nevin, 2 of my kids, that do the oil tanks. They work for Tankout. But I bought this old fixer-upper house in Jericho, and it's got like 50 or 60 tons of trash, and it's been abandoned for 30 years. But the price point was right. I like these. I take on these challenges like maybe twice a year where I'll buy some rundown house, abandoned house. And they're fun because you can really see. I try and keep and salvage everything so I don't knock anything down. So I'll repurpose. Today was like the first day on the site where we pulled like concrete, clean concrete to be reused, concrete to go to all seasons for recycling, scrap metal. It's going to be a big job. It's all it's going to be on YouTube and Instagram. So we've got our first 2 recordings pretty much ready. My boys went out and bought these Ray-Ban Meta glasses. So it makes for a really nice recording. So this is what we're doing on the real estate. I've probably done 75 houses in the last 40 years-ish, 2 a year. And I take the extreme ones when everyone's like, knock them down. But generally, I do oil tanks, right? I do category 4 oil tanks, which means, according to the state of Vermont, it's oil tanks under 1,100 gallons residential, which is the majority of the oil tanks in the state of Vermont that need to go due to the fact that, say, starting in Burlington with natural gas 50 years ago, when they brought natural gas in 60 years ago, thereabouts, they never pulled the oil tanks. So they switched to natural gas, and now there's oil tanks in Burlington. In fact, there's probably 2,000 or 3,000 left. But on top of that, you have the oil tanks around the state, natural gas conversions, people going to heat pumps, people that have switched to propane, covering the whole state of Vermont. Um, and I think it was CAX that did a study that said there's about 100 to 110,000 oil tanks in the state of Vermont that have to come out. There's not a lot of people doing it because you get dirty, but environmentally it's like the right thing to do. So I try and repurpose everything. Before I ship it to Ohio, I'll take the used oil. It'll go to waste oil guys. If I get a certain grade of oil, it'll go to maple sugar producers. Residential, I use a lot of the residential oil for myself in my rental property. So I'll use about maybe 8,000 gallons for myself. And so I like that. That saves me a buck there. And then you get the scrap metal. We did about 200
Yeah.
tons of scrap metal last year from oil tanks. And we do it largely in the morning between like 7 and 1. We're covering the whole state of Vermont. So we're down in Bennington, Mount Holly, Grand Gorge, that south of Rutland about every other week. I found that plumbers, there's a lot of one-man shows out there. The average plumber, I'm only guessing, is probably 60 years old, right? So he doesn't have help or the ability to put the tanks in the basement. So we'll do that. We'll put the tank in the basement. We'll take the tank out. We'll take the oil out. So we help the one-man show. And we'll also take their boilers and furnaces out. We'll part them out and take those out while we're there. So I'm getting done in a couple months pulling that retirement thing so I can do more real estate. And my boys are going to continue on. So Liam and Nevin are going to be out there. Tankout, I would think that Tankout does more oil tanks, residential category 4 tanks rather, not big commercial stuff, than anybody in the state of Vermont. And we keep it affordable because we're recycling everything and we use the oil and so forth. So it's a great little business plan. We're doing something environmentally smart. And the quick transactions, Joe, like in the trash business, which I had a trash business for 20 years. You go to the same customer 52 times a year, right? And then you go back to do the recycling another 52. You never get to really know the people. This is a relationship where, for example, this house that I'm working on needed an oil tank out because they were going to sell it, and then I bought the house, right? So I try and buy the real estate when I'm there. It's kind of my little inside scoop to before the homes hit the market in a lot of cases. As well, I do a lot of realtors too. So I don't take the sale away, but I'm there sometimes before the realtor, so it gives me a little heads up. So I've enjoyed it for that reason, and I've done many of them. And yeah, it's fun. So I've always been in the environmental business, right? And from the trash business and recycling and composting to doing oil tanks now. I've always been in a really stinky business, really nasty in the summertime, more so than anything. But I don't mind it, right?
But yeah,
You're doing
I
the
feel
right
like you're
thing and
doing
you're
a
making a
really
few
big
bucks
part
along
in
the way.
the reusing, right? You're like you're Mr. Recycle
Yeah,
over there. I feel
no,
like
exactly.
you're doing a lot to help not put anything in the landfill.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So
Myers
Tim,
has their own little shtick that they have a recycle. Yeah, go for it.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, Joe.
So I was just going to ask. I recently bought a home, and I know a lot of people out there when they're in the market to buy a home, they might not realize they have an old tank in the ground or something like that. So, is this something that my realtor will be telling me about? Is it something that I, as a homeowner, should be? What should I or somebody do if they're going to buy a home to make sure that this tank, if I'm buying a house, that somebody else pays for you to come out and remove it rather than me?
So imagine that I get the majority of my leads from realtors or like my salespeople, right? And then after that, it would be building inspectors. So about roughly 4 years ago, I think it was August 14th, 4 years ago, they made it the law where if your oil tank's not in use for 12 months, it's got to go. Or upon active conversion, when you switch to natural gas, it's got to go. So imagine the backlog of oil tanks because for decades they didn't pull the oil tanks. I'm on job sites in Burlington, or I'd say I use Burlington because there's a lot of them there, but I'm on job sites where the oil's been sitting there and there's 3 oil, like it's leaning against the wall, it's got a dirt floor, it's got 200 gallons or maybe 20 gallons of oil on a dirt basement on a hillside city called Burlington. Now, that's not uncommon to find that. Um, Ironically, I don't really find spills. There's a lot of situations that you're like, at some point the tank's going to leak. So, like my radio ads say, at some point your tank will leak. If is it a year, a day, or is it like 50 years from now? We don't know. But we're getting that thing out of there. There's a lot of them to go, as well, like upstate New York, the town of Dannemora, the town of Peru, all of Plattsburgh are switching to natural gas, as well as the expansion lines for Vermont Gas, which would be the whole town of Middlebury, Heinsberg, Swanton, Highgate, all these areas that have expansion that natural gas is expanded to are there's a lot of work for the future. If somebody wants to get dirty, it's a great career actually. Um, and my boys like it. I don't know how that is because they're 20 and 22 years old, but they do. So, and it gives,
That's good. That's
you get a little exercise, you make a little money, you do something right for the environment, you make a couple bucks, it's all good. So, yeah, I have 5 kids, right? So
sorry,
this
we
is
were
number 3 and 4.
giggling through that, not because of what you were saying, but all of a sudden we could see Jeff Myers kind of in and out of behind over Joe's shoulder because that's not a real piano behind
There's
Joe.
trouble.
You just got outed, Joe,
There's
big
trouble.
time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think you guys point that out often. That's not a real piano.
So yeah, so it's what happens if someone just says like, right? I think like a lot of people shouldn't do, but just doesn't. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, it's bad for the environment. It could develop an oil leak. Like why is it there's like this 1 year thing? Is that just because they want people to be proactive at getting them out, or how bad is it for someone to ignore that they have the tank that needs to get removed?
I mean, eventually it's going to happen. People want the space. They don't want the object down there. You know, I think the realtors are pretty good at educating people. Realtors, they're all educated, right? They take courses, and the Department of Public Works, you take in Burlington or in St. Albans, has been right on it when it comes to code. So they'll recommend getting the tank out of there, or no, they'll say in order to get your occupancy certificate, your tank will be taken out of there. So there's a lot of enforcement going on in the state now, whereas there wasn't in the past. I do believe that oil companies, when they lose somebody on natural gas, now will put them on a database. So the state has access to that information to make sure that the people did pull their oil tank when it gets switched over to natural gas. There's just so many oil tanks out there that I'm at a convenience store. I have my Tankout vehicle. They say, "Oh, I have an oil tank." It's like everybody has an oil tank out there. I mean, imagine if what I think it was, I don't know if it was A&R that did the study or if it was CAX, but imagine if there's 100 to 110,000 oil tanks in the state of Vermont. That means, I mean, imagine that, because we have a population of what, 600,000? And how many houses do we have? So there's buildings that have multi-tanks, and I've done buildings that have 5 and 6 oil tanks. So they're everywhere,
Wow.
and there's oil in them. But 80% of the time, there's oil in the tanks. And that old oil works really well in certain types of heating systems. And so I'm able to help small mechanics heat their garage with this reclaimed oil. It works really well. And like I was saying, I use a bunch of it for myself. I have some buddies, they flip me some beers, right? And I'll bring them some oil for their house that are my neighbors. And I keep the business very simple because it's a simple business. We don't want to overcomplicate it. So I'm 62, right? And like I was saying, I'm going to be retiring in a couple months actually.
So Tim,
And the
one of the
boys are going to
things
continue, and there's a massive amount of work for them in the future.
Tim, I was saying, Erin and I enjoy these like offbeat stories. So you must have some good stories about when you go to take a tank out and stuff you maybe found when you're digging stuff up, or there has to be some good stories out there that you could tell us.
Yeah, there's nothing that you could put on Antique Roadshow.
And with the delay, you're really
But
boosting, the.
Oh no, I wonder if I can move my phone in a different fashion where it might be better. There's no Antique Roadshows out there stories, but people are moving, and so I know the homes for sale, so that's a huge thing. Sometimes they're selling their car, so I'm known as Trader Tim in town, right? So I'll do these. I have this pickers business that I do that I've done some really substantial size ones. where people will come and open up boxes of things that, I'll buy a warehouse of stuff that hasn't been looked at for a while. In fact, I have a sale this Saturday coming up, which is more of a yard sale experience, not a Trader Tim Pickers experience. But so yeah, I'll grab things if people have things they want to get rid of. I'm known as the guy that will be keeping it in storage containers and having a sale eventually.
I feel like you do a whole lot of things, but I have one more oil tank question real quick. Like, how much does it cost?
A kerosene tank. It's outside. It's next to a mobile home, let's say, or it's people had monitor heaters where they use kerosene tanks. It's on their back porch of their condo, which they have to go now. There's no parts for these heating systems. There was thousands of them in Vermont, so these are like $299. So that's where it kind of starts, and then it's commonly $500, maybe $600.
Okay.
I make it affordable. The average transaction is 50 minutes, so we're in and out in 50 minutes. And
Okay.
it's a team. One guy does one thing, one does another. We take an hour, sometimes an hour and 15 or 20 minutes, but that's about it. So it's a good transaction for us, a few bucks. It's affordable for people, and so we just try and keep it affordable so everyone wants to do it. I mean, I think there's people out there charging more than that, and I'm not that guy. I'm not interested in doing that. I know there's people charging more than that, but that's not me. And it's a small business, right? I'm not charging typically over $600. I think is a safe number. If I'm working down in Manchester, where I'm driving 2 hours, we'll bundle work to save time, so I can make it affordable. If I had to go down to Manchester to do one job, you're probably going to pay $1,000 or something like that, because you've got 2 guys, you've got 5 hours of driving round trip. So we'll bundle work to keep it at that affordable price point, and in the $600 to $800 range, maybe if you're in Southern Vermont, because I'll put 3 or 4 jobs at the same time, within 2 days.
Sure.
The boys will do an overnight in Rutland, that sort of thing. That's how we handle it to keep it affordable.
So Tim, how do people find out? How do people find you?
They can just look up Tankout online, tankoutvt.com, tim@tankoutvt.com. I have a 888 Tankout number, but just hit me on the web. I'm quick to respond. I get back to people like immediately.
As long as you have good cell
Pops into your
service.
phone, right? It's easy to do. I do. Yeah, I know, right. And this is Chittenden County. Somehow the state spent $75 million in cell towers, and it doesn't work in Jericho, Chittenden County. Tankoutvt.com. There it is.
Perfect. All right, Joe, should we try to do trash or not? Should we try to do trash or not with Tim? But if it falls out, then it falls out, and after we let him go, we'll try it again. Let's try.
Absolutely. Okay. So for both of you, because we're all parents here, and Tim, I know you have gone the whole range of parenting. So trashy or not, your children, when you're traveling with them and you're in a space with a lot of other people, restaurant, wherever, and they're on their electronic devices, no headphones or no headphones, trashy or not, having your underage children use a tablet without headphones.
I think they need headphones.
Just disappeared, but if you can hear me, in case we're ending. My youngest one, Bryn, we don't really let her use the phone that much. She might have her tablet. I don't know. All depends on the situation, right? If you're with another couple, obviously I don't have a babysitter. It's my wife and I with Bryn. It'll be with or without. But I'm going to say, if I had to pick one answer, I'm going to say with headphones. But it's uncommon. We generally don't allow that in a public situation for her to be online.
Yeah, fair. I agree. We, as of now, Jack Barker thinks he can use his tablet on an airplane and when he gets his haircut. We do have headphones on the airplane. Nothing is more annoying than when you're in like a group of people in a quiet situation and their game is just like ding, 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 ding. Like, yeah, I feel like it's trashy to not have headphones or make the volume. If the volume is literally like level 1 where you can't make anything out, you just maybe can hear it, then like maybe that's okay. But I'm also like that person who I don't even watch videos on my phone with the sound on half the time because I'm like a sound down person.
Well, just how it all came out. I went away recently.
Right. I get you.
Went away recently, and we were on a sightseeing tour. So there was about 100 people on this tour, and we're all pretty close. And there was a young family, and this 2 young kids, and 5, 6 years old, have their tablet on full volume. So you're trying to listen to the tour guide point stuff out, and all you can hear is Bluey in the background, and it's
gosh.
like it's Bluey, for God's sakes.
Hey, that's one of the better ones, Joe. It could be worse.
That bothers me. That bothers me. And then you'll have somebody with their phone sideways. They're walking along and they have it on speaker and they're talking really loud. And you're like, why? I don't understand that. Why do you do that?
That
right?
was a prior week's trash. You're not.
You're right on, Tim. That was a
drives
prior
you crazy.
week. A speakerphone out in public is a big no-no. We all agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Big no.
All right, Tim,
sure.
with that, we're going to let you get back to your job site. Thank you so much for joining us, telling us about Tankout and oil tanks.
Oh
and
my gosh, you guys disappeared on me. Removed. I love it. Email me anytime, Tim at Tankout VT or Tankout on the web. Hey, that was a lot of fun, guys.
We appreciate it, Tim. Have a good afternoon.
Yeah, thank you.
I know.
So for the people watching the video of the podcast, we live in Vermont.
Absolutely.
But for the people hearing it, probably, right? Because people watch videos of podcasts, but also audio. I think it'll sound fine to them. Something I wanted to ask him, but I didn't because it was getting frustrating. My dad who's the coolest person whose house he's been in to remove an oil tank?
Exactly.
Who do you guys do trash for any of the famous Vermont people?
Well, we do have one. The true story here is when I first started, I was looking at an account and I popped up and it was Mike Myers.
Yeah.
And we all know Mike Myers, the actor, does have a home here in Vermont. So I was very excited. And I have to admit, I drove by his house, Mike Myers' house. I told a coworker about it and they explained to me that's Jeff's nephew, Mike Myers, who lives in Winooski. So I drove by the wrong Mike Myers' house.
Well, so his nephew must have an impressive house, not like a small house that you're like, wouldn't have guessed that one.
Yeah, I'm driving. I'm like, wow, he lives in the city of Winooski, like right on a main drag. I'm like, interesting place for a A-list celebrity.
But he does. But doesn't Mike Myers live in Vermont?
No, he does. He does.
Yeah, I think I know like the road he lives on. We should get him to do a commercial for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, yes, he does live in Vermont, but hot take, it's not Winooski.
It's not. But it's also not Stowe. I'll say that.
It's not Stowe. No, absolutely.
My dad was an electrician, and he did work at Gail King's house in Connecticut. And he said there was tons of photos of her and Oprah everywhere. And I was like, see, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, absolutely. See, that's the stuff. That's why we get along, Erin. We like those things.
We do. We're also both fair people. So I hope that some people see us at the fair and recognize us. And we'll have to report back on when the celebrity status of the podcast has started.
Yeah. You're higher up the food chain than I, Erin. So they'll recognize you.
That's all right. I'll take it. Sorry, Joe. We'll get you there. We'll get you there. All right, that does it for this week. We look forward to seeing you all again next week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast and tune in again next week. Bye, everybody.